start on the film review after Sunday night?
We started with the kickoff return. Started there first.
What did you see on that? On those two, I guess, the two 40-yarders?
Well, I was talking about our kickoff return.
Okay.
We just started with our kickoff return, we have, matter of fact, we've shown the Ty Montgomery clip. So we started there. This is something, we're not retroactive, we're very proactive in the rules and applying the rules and things of that nature. So we know the rules as far as establishing out of bounds first and then touching the ball. We understand and we have rules about catching kickoff returns going lateral because you do lose, perception of where you are. So these are things that we have gone over. So we started with that one to try to see if there's something different in our communication that we could use that would help individuals understand. We don't want to field that ball. In addition to going back and researching our film clips of what we have shown from that nature. Mm-hmm.
What about the punt return ball? I mean, I know, like, it was obviously a deep kick. It was down the middle. I don't know if you had you punted it to the 3, 4, 5 yard line.
Yeah.
What happened? What more could you want?
Well, we're a directional punt outfit, first of all, and the notion of punt it out of bounds every time, I wish it was that easy, because when you try to do that, you get what we got on the third punt, which is a shank. So there's a fine line with that. What we could have done differently once the ball was caught is maintain and held the discipline of our lane integrity. We knew that this was a very dangerous returner. Film studies had shown that he would bring it out from 8 deep. I think that's what he did his first game against Oakland. Excuse me, not Oakland. The Raiders, L.A. I got Las Vegas. Got my cities all messed up. It starts with keeping the integrity of your lane. Now, these guys, when they see a human being that fast take off in the other direction, human nature says, hey, I'm going to take an angle, the best possible angle to be a part of the play to get my buddies on the ground, but I have to have faith in my buddy that he's going to be there where he's supposed to be, so if the ball cuts back, I am in position to corral this young man and get him on the ground.
I know it's not an excuse, but you got a lot of young players. Is that part of the challenge?
That is part of the challenge, and regardless of how young they are, and we all know young players bring challenges, the standard is still the standard, and the young players have to meet the standard a lot quicker than what we would have liked them to do. But they're on the team, they're on the roster, so we have to meet those challenges. Matt mentioned that all hands are on deck. We will utilize some other guys, but at the same time, we have to be smart within the confines of, not tearing down what we're doing on defense and offense to utilize those guys. I tell you, the injury bug is something else. It hits special teams the hardest. A guy like Rasul Douglas, he came to us October 6th. Our starting corners at the time was 21 and 23. And Rasul was playing on 3 special teams for us. And he is a good player who's been in the league. He's been on several teams, so he has experience. And now when you pull a guy from that who has to play at the line of scrimmage, now you're inserting a guy who does not have that same caliber experience and things of that nature. So that curve that has to happen right now. We don't get any time. So we're going to continue to keep coaching these guys up. And I'll say this, no one feels worse than those young men who are on the field. No one feels worse than them. They have beat themselves up, and that's why, I'm the positive Pete right now. We got to be positive Pete, because those guys feel bad. They do. And they're working hard. And, I was encouraged going into the game because we had a good week of preparation. We've had a great 2 days of preparation here, but we have to do it on Sunday. This is the bottom line. It has to get done on Sunday.
So if young guys are the challenge, I have no idea what you're going to do here, but I'll just make this as an example. What would it do to the group if you add in 2 veterans per phase? Whatever
Yes.
the number's gonna be.
No, I mean, that is the goal. That's the goal to do that. And you know, under the confines that we're allowed to do, we will utilize those guys when we get the opportunity. And get this too now, just because they're older in this situation, if they're not repped up, there's a learning curve, a small learning curve to just get back into the field of special teams. It's not as easy as, hey, run down the field and hold your lane. There's indicators, there's things you need to see, there's techniques and tools that you have to utilize. But definitely an older guy, it makes that curve much smaller if he has not been in the room for a while because he's playing from the line of scrimmage. But at the same time, he does bring an added oomph to the unit.
Well, could you identify spots where you could use veterans that wouldn't put them at risk, let's say, as much at risk? You know, so let's say on that kickoff, or on the punt return, you had kind of some guys who hang back, you know, they look like Patrick.
Yeah, it's so on the punt return, and we talked a little bit about lane integrity, things of that nature. It's just a matter of whether you're old or young, you have to hold your line within the confines of the coverage. So typically when you break out in a punt, people are released in waves, and we just have to maintain where you are in that wave as we're coming. So it's not that, yeah, you could put an older guy on there, and he would probably be able to hold his lane and hold his wave, but at the same time, once that ball carrier comes, you still have to get him on the ground. I mean, let's not take anything away from Jaheim Grant. I think he has 6 career tutters, punt return, and kickoff returns. The guy's electric in a bottle. I mean, he's really good. Now, that's no excuse, but we still got to get him on the ground.
Did you consider squibbing right before the first half, last kickoff, end of the half? Kicked it to him and got a 4-3-yard return. Did you consider just scribbing it or popping it up so they didn't get a return?
Well, we will always maximize or try to maximize the talent of the individual who's doing the task at hand. So we're gonna utilize that person's best ball. I would hate to ask someone to do something that they can't do, or it might not have repped or practiced, or it's not in the best interest of us at that time.
You're talking about Crosby?
Any player, just going forward, so you know that if the question is, well, how come you didn't do this? Well, either the ability of the human being does not allow that, or the scenario does not allow us to do that. It's sort of like the thing, hey, punt it out of bounds. Well, we can't, so.
Well, Matt mentioned that on the penalty the Bears had where the guy ran out of bounds that kind of bailed you guys out, that Rasul baited the guy to run
Yeah,
out of bounds.
so,
How does someone bait someone to run out of bounds?
On our film study, that particular person showed that he would run wide over and over again. So in our room, we talked about, hey, this guy has a high percentage of running wide. Let's see if we can't bait him, okay, to see if we can't get what we call a pop foul, a player out of bounds on a punt. So we knew that he has shown that in the past, so we took advantage of it, and it paid off at the right moment.
Obviously, Grant is a hell of a returner, but so is Duvernay. What have you seen? What's made him so effective?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any easier. I tell you, when you talk about the Baltimore Ravens, to me, they're the standard of special teams. It starts at the top with their head coach, who was a special teams guy turned head coach. They had a guy for a long time named Jerry Rossberg. Jerry is like the dean of ST coaches and does a great job. And now Chris Horton, who was under Jerry for a long time, has taken over their program. I think the returner there, he's #1 in punt returns, averaging 14.3. He's like 8th on kickoff return, averaging right around 25 or so. So it's a big task. We're up for the challenge. Let's not let it just fall by the wayside. The second half of that game, kickoff-wise, we had 3 kickoffs where we held them inside the 25-yard line. And if we would have just applied those same techniques and trusted that your buddy was going to be where he was, we wouldn't have had those 2 returns in the first half. Because if you go back and turn on the film, you see exactly what happened, and you actually have a free hitter based upon the scheme that they was running. We got to get that guy on the ground. And once again, those guys over there, no one feels worse than them. No one feels worse than them.
In regard to Amari Rogers, what's the balance between, one, you could just take pressure off him, take him out, let him gather himself mentally and maybe watch another guy, versus maybe you don't have anybody else, or you want him to just keep building confidence somehow?
No, that's a great question and a great point. So we were doing some of that a couple weeks ago before Randall got hurt, where he was going to have the ability to sit back, kind of watch, absorb it from that standpoint. But we did not have that luxury once Randall got hurt or last week. We have some guys in the bullpen now that are showing some promise in practice. No, I'm not going to say who they are. We'll see, when the time comes. But we're working some guys, and we feel really good about them.
Sometimes, does that work? Sometimes a mental play?
Absolutely, it definitely works, and it slows it down for a young man. Totally, you're totally right on point with that.
Anything else, guys?
Is there any way Randall can still help him just through practice?
Yes, Randall helps him Randall has been helping him since he got here. You heard me say it from the very day we signed Amari, and everyone's excited, and I was excited too. I said, hey man, he's still a rookie returner, and it's going to be some growing pains. This is what I do know, and I learned this from Buddy Pugh. He said, all sickness isn't death. And I really believe that. All sickness isn't death. Players don't come ready-made, all right? We're charged as coaches to grow these players, and we'll continue to grow them, not only as football players, but as men. And we need to understand there's pain in growth. The beautiful thing for us is we were able to get a win, all right? So we still won, which is huge. And it allows me to coach with my thumb on them a little bit harder, because we did win, and no one feels worse than them. And now it's some and ooh moments and eye-opening moments. And I see what you've been telling me, Coach, over and over again. But now that I was put in that situation, or this happened to me, I'm better at it. So we're going to continue coaching the heck out of these guys best we can.